Hello, my satisfactory people. It's Battlespark again, and this video I would like to show you my new train-based iron factory. So, in this situation I have the iron ingots made somewhere else, and I'll show you that later. This is where they come in this train station. And let's see, where's that train at? It's close, so record it coming in and docking. I keep getting questions about how these trains work, and I'm not sure I'm doing a good job of describing it, so I would like to just film one. That's not it. Yeah, it looks like there's two trains on top of each other there. I said in another video that trains don't run into each other, which is a really nice feature on this game. In another game that's similar to this, you have to set up a signal system, which makes it more realistic but turns it into a real hassle. So here comes the train. And he'll pull in and stop, and then those cranes will lift the containers off of it and then put it into the train depot there. And you see each of those train cars lines up with one of these freight receiver sender buildings for the trains, and then each one of these has two output, two inputs. So you can either input 2 belts worth of stuff or output 2 belts worth of stuff. You technically could do both, but that would be silly. You would just create a loop. So the ingots are flowing out of there into this first level, and we have plates being made by these constructors. And you can see in this factory I experimented a little bit with some different power pull situations. And this one I suspended a wall and used the level 3 wall mounted power pulls, and I really like that. And you'll see later in the factory I did some other things that kind of have mixed feelings, I guess, about both systems. The thing I'm most proud of, though, are these transparent walkways that goes right over the belt and splitters and mergers. You can see in the top left corner there my frames per second, and it's way down in the 20s right now. When I'm not recording, it's in the mid 30s, and that's due mostly to the fact that I've got two factories going. That other big factory I showed you in another video is still up and running, and I need to start shutting it down and tearing it down. So on this side of the first floor, we've got constructors making rods. And on this floor, we are making nothing but screws. First, there's rods being made on the far side there, and then down on this end are the machines making screws. And then everything is getting elevated up to the third floor. And you can see here, instead of suspending walls, I just stuck power poles on my transparent platforms here. And I like this method too. I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with the most in the future, but probably whatever I feel like at the time. Another thing they added that I really like and have been hoping they would add for a long time is smart and programmable splitters have overflow functions. So you see a series of them too, right there. That's on belts with rods, and they're just spinning rods that aren't getting used off to the side and then eventually up to the third floor. That way, if they're not needed for the construction of the screws, they can continue on to help with either the overall supply of rods or the construction of rotors and modular frames. So up here on the third floor, we have the reinforced iron plates being made, and another row of reinforced iron plates. And this row is making rotors. And this row is making the modular frames. And then all three of these items are getting spit back towards this wall and then run along the wall there. That's what those top three belts there are. And this all kind of turned into a spider's mess. But it works okay, because I was playing around with overflow ideas. And because when I laid out the spreadsheet for this factory, I was going to have a deficit in rods or screws. And I decided to go ahead and build it with a deficit and then use the overflow for when things were not needed for their original purpose. So that's those three products going to the wall and then elevated down to the ground floor. And then what I did with all the base products, the plates, rods, and screws, is I just kept them going out the back here and then ran them into the wall and then down to ground floor. So that when these assemblers end up not needing plates, rods, and screws, all that stuff just gets piped out of the factory and then into another train station, which I'll show you here in a minute. So we have three train depots there. That one I think is nothing but screws. This one has plates, rods, and screws. And this one has the reinforced iron frames, the rotors, modular frames, and screws. Reinforced iron plates in them. So now I'll show you the iron ingot factory. And I'll do a completely separate recording for the overall train system once it's a bit more finished, I think. This is copper here. You can see it's not complete. I just have one train car's worth of ore being delivered. And then it's making all the base copper products. And then I can just add more later as I need it, if I need it. Which I'm sure I'll feel the need to do that. So this is it. This is where the iron ingots are made. I used refineries because I found an alternate blueprint and I wanted to play around with it. So there's 4 rows of 22 refineries making ingots, and that's enough to max out 8 belts of the level 5 belts running 720 items each, which this is the output for those refineries all being piped to here. run across here. And then down into the train depot. Now the advantage to this alternate recipe is you use half as much iron ore as you normally would to max out your ingot production, which allows me to use 1/2 of a train to produce 8 belts worth of ingots, and leaves the other half of the train for my steel factory, which is what I'm going to build next. So I'll still have 4 belts worth of iron ore that I can use for steel. Let's see how these guys are full, so those cranes aren't going to operate. So just those 2 containers worth of ore are getting picked up. Or not. Yeah, so that's about it for the new ironworks. And this whole concept is going to get repeated for every stage of the factory system. So I don't think I'll bother making a video for concrete and copper and steel and so on and so forth. I'll just make a video for the train system overall, and then we'll see what happens after that. All right, thank you for watching. I'm out.